Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in with a My Hero Academia discussion video. This time specifically, I'm here to tell you what I think is going to happen in Hero Academia in terms of like the bigger story beats when it comes to the villains. And here as we are in the final act, just my general thoughts about some things I think are pretty much guaranteed. Or all the factors that I'm kind of thinking about as we wait for the chapters week to week. Now if you watch the live streams, you kind of already know all my opinions. This video is just here for me to have a reference point to come back to and be like, okay, this was right, this was wrong. Just a nice little guide here. So sit back, relax, and let me tell you my thoughts. This video is going to be more focused on Shigaraki and then just kind of slotting things in that are connected to Shigaraki's story. So let's start talking. The first thing that guides my thoughts here, and that you have to really understand, is the idea that the author wants Izuku to save Shigaraki. That idea is what ultimately bends a lot of my other thoughts in a particular direction. In my opinion, I think the author needs to make Shigaraki into a bigger victim than we've ever seen before in order to make the whole Izuku saves him thing work. Because Shigaraki owns a lot of his origin and accepts how much he wants to destroy things him fundamentally, getting him to a point where it seems like he needs to be saved requires making the guy suffer a lot. Because really, again, a person suffering is the image of a person that needs to be saved. It's no coincidence that the image that Izuku picks up on is a child crying. So because of this, I really don't think that Izuku saves Shigaraki without the author undoing a lot of Shigaraki, or taking away a lot of his power, or a lot of his autonomy. That might be the better word. And lo and behold, like in the recent chapters, it looks like the author is opting to take away a lot of Shigaraki's autonomy. When you have All For One talking about them becoming one person, I really don't think Shigaraki's going to be able to undo this just by hating himself, or just by hating a hole through it. Anyway, based on that premise, here are my ideas on how Hero Academia might shake out. So, when it comes to Shigaraki's fight with Star and Stripe, I'm not going to talk about the conclusion of that because that just goes in so many other different directions. What I care about is what he does immediately after the fight. Shigaraki's going to walk away and he's going to go back towards All For One. He's going to go back towards the All For One hideout. I think Shigaraki is going to be in front of All For One. No way around that. Shigaraki, I think, kills All For One. He'll do this in a final moment of defiance, most likely. Maybe incorrectly hoping that killing All For One will somehow stop the vestige and allow Shigaraki to be a free person once more. It'll be probably a really epic moment, and it'll be like that last moment of defiance. In this route, there might be some words about how Shigaraki was resisting that last 1%. With that last 1%, he was able to try and save himself. But the thing is, All For One is a dick, so the killing of All For One will be the final thing that allows the vestige to fully take over because of some kind of weird metaphysical reason. I'm sure All For One could come up with something. I'm sure he can make something up. And I'm sure he'll gloat about how that was the plan the entire time. It's All For One, so he'll probably do that. Anyway, that goes down. Shigaraki is now fully controlled, and Shigaraki gets shoved away in a nice little subconscious box. And now we get stuck with Neo Shigaraki. Or whatever. Now, what I think is interesting here is that All For One was in a position where he was being bodyguarded by Spinner this entire time. And I think it would be very interesting because All For One said that Spinner was going to be bodyguarding Shigaraki in the upcoming days. It'd be interesting if All For One from that moment was thinking like, yeah, Spinner, you won't have to bodyguard me anymore because I'm going to be dead, but not really. I'm going to be inside Shigaraki. So you're going to still be bodyguarding me, but you're going to be bodyguarding me, doing what you're doing, except I'm in your buddy's body. I think it'd be really interesting if that's how far ahead All For One was thinking when he was talking to Spinner. And maybe Spinner will notice some little weird differences in Shigaraki and realize that Shigaraki's in trouble as well. Anyway, when Neo Shigaraki and Spinner are out and about doing the political stuff, what'll likely happen is that Shigaraki will be doing that just to gather people up, because gathering people will be really important for attacking UA. Now, when it comes to the pitch for rounding up the people who are hiding in the shadows, there will probably be some rhetoric about how even though All Might went down, the symbol of peace, UA still stands as its own symbol. So I could see Shigaraki's group talking about how the world can't change without UA, a symbol of the current era, going down. Obviously, the disenfranchised will think this is a good idea, and obviously Neo Shigaraki will be excited because he can't destroy everything without first going after One For All, because All For One is really fixated. I don't think he has very many good ideas when he has tunnel vision. So instead of wiping out all of Japan, leaving only UA, effectively holding all of Japan hostage, he's probably just going to go straight to UA and try and deal with Izuku there. That feels about right for a potato head like All For One. Anyway, after gathering forces, Shigaraki will lead the attack on UA. At Attack on UA, I imagine that this is where we're also going to see the Shinzo and Monoma having great moments thing, where they really show what they're capable of. We'll probably also see some of the Shoji storyline. Given that he's a guy who hides his face because of how his face scares children, he might be the best in Class 1A to deal with the idea of mutant shape discrimination. It's kind of weird to imagine him being a counterpoint to Spinner, but he might just be there to give some words. Ideally, he's not the traitor, and he's not a traitor because of mutant shape discrimination, because that would really suck. Anyway, this is supposed to be more of a Shigaraki video, so let's get back to Shigaraki. I think when it comes down to saving Shigaraki, he's going to be in a spot where Izuku will be trying to reach Shigaraki to pull him out of whatever mental cage All For One has locked him up in. And in this case, you know, this is probably going to happen in Vestige World, most likely, because that's where metaphysical stuff happens. Izuku will be able to see the whole situation. We might also see Izuku reaching out to Tenko, the symbol of Shigaraki's weakness and hope. There might be some kind of idea about, you know, appealing to the inner child, and then maybe Tenko himself tries to save older Shigaraki, because there are little hints that Tenko is still active within Shigaraki's subconscious. After all, if Tenko wasn't there, Izuku wouldn't have had this idea about saving Shigaraki. Anyway, after that point, All For One will have a giant freak out because, of course, he never would have thought that Shigaraki would be taken away from him, and this leads to the final confrontation with him as the ultimate evil, unhappy, fighting with Izuku. He's super upset that he's not able to keep Shigaraki. At this point, we might see the Vestiges come back. It's kind of hard to imagine where exactly the fight's going to take place because there's so much metaphysics going on right now. Towards the end, the Vestiges are going to come back to deal with him, and maybe All Might is with them as well in Vestige form. I'm not sure where exactly the All Might is dying fits into this whole thing. But before we go into the All Might stuff, I really do think that All For One will ultimately be defeated, and we'll see his brother hugging him or something, telling him it's time to move on at the very end, and maybe that way the Vestiges get to pass on, taking out All For One once and for all. And in doing so, returning Shigaraki's body back to Shigaraki. Anyway, to talk about some of the extra elements that I've kind of noodling with, All Might's death. There's a prophecy at play. I think it'd be very bad if we don't kind of address that. I do think we need to spend some time talking about it, but I really hope that the death doesn't happen in the final arc. Ideally, if it's gonna happen, I'd like for it to happen before the final arc, just so Izuku has some time to like think about it, but kind of hard to say with how fast-paced the story is right now. Next thing to really quickly mention is whether or not Attack on UA is going to be the final arc of the manga. I think it could be the last, or if not, the second to last arc. I really do think Attack on UA is going to happen because it's being built up. I think it's going to be this big final last stand. Now, we were told that Hawks was going to have a moment of hope. We got that from an interview. So I think this might mean that Hawks does something critical that buys everyone an opportunity. I right now think that the moment of hope might happen against Shigaraki somehow. For Toga, I think she's going to be helping the heroes against Shigaraki. I don't think she's going to be on All For One's side, because I think she's going to be one of the people to notice that Shigaraki is being controlled. So she's going to want to save him. Whether or not Spinner will be alive for Toga to do that, that's kind of a question mark, because Spinner might get turned to normal, but it's kind of hard to say. I don't have many ideas on Spinner, but I'm pretty sure Toga, because she was set up with the idea that the villains are her home, Toga will likely want to save Shigaraki from All For One. Stain is a really interesting factor, and I feel like he might come in to deal with Neo Shigaraki. His quirk does seem really useful for buying time, so he might be one of those people that plays like an Aizawa type role of ultimately delaying the worst case scenario, and that'll probably really ratchet up the tension, so we can all appreciate that. Now, Skeptic and the remnants of the Liberation Front, they are still active. They're probably going to join in with Shigaraki to take things down. It looks like the author hasn't forgotten them. So for a Skeptic, you know, I had this idea back during the war, but I think it would be cool if La Brava is the one to counter Skeptic. And then we have Gentle showing up at the final fight as well because of that. I really do feel they're going to show up again. And Skeptic does still have one story point that we need addressed, that being the one time he failed. It'd be funny if the one time he failed was against La Brava. We'll have to see. Of course, we can't talk about villainous futures without talking about the Traitors. So I do still think that the Traitor is going to be a factor, and you know, the Traitor might be the reason that UA's defenses fall and allow a point for the villains to enter through. I would like to see a Traitor feeling like, you know, they're not happy with the things that they've done. I would like to see some redemption. But at this point, I have no real clear ideas for Traitor. My number one pick has always been Hasume Mei, but in terms of crack picks, there's many crack picks. You have Shoji, Hagakure, Aoyama. Then you have like super crack picks like Izuku being the Traitor because of some kind of weird all for one for all connection. Nejire being the traitor, because Nejire, in my perspective, there's some really weird things going on with Nejire. But yeah, I don't have that many concrete thoughts about traitors outside of Hatsume Mei and Nejire. If Shoji's the traitor, that's really unfortunate. If Aoyama's the traitor, then we might have gotten spoiled about that with one particular image that came out during one of the art expos. We'll have to see what exactly happens here. But that's it for me. That is pretty much everything that I'm thinking when we're going into the final arc. I will come back to this video to see how correct I was, but the stuff that I'm most fixated on is pretty much just the general story beats that are going to happen to Shigaraki. Like right now, I am really excited to see whether or not Shigaraki tries to kill All for One, and that is ultimately what screws him over. If that one comes true, I'm going to be very, very happy. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this quick little discussion video. Let me know what you thought down below. Let me know if you have any ideas about what you think is going to happen in the final arc. And yeah. Also, you might notice I didn't mention Dobby. And that's just because, like, with Dobby, it's like, it's Endeavor and Shoto. They're going to deal with him. One of them might die. You know, right now I'm more interested in Shigaraki. Dobby is going to be a nice little surprise. But yeah, if you guys have thoughts about Dobby, let me know down below. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.